Good evening. We'll call to order tonight's meeting for Gahanna City Council. It's Monday, June the 3rd of 2024. And if you would please join me and stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Trenton Weaver.
Thank you. As we gather, we are grateful for, appreciate, and use each day that comes before us. For each day's duties and in each day's difficulties, we are challenged to give our best always in service to one another and to our community. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Would you please call the roll, Clerk Van Meter?
Bowers.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
McGregor.
Here.
Padova.
Here.
Renner. Here. Schnetzer is absent. Weaver.
Here.
All right, thank you. Next section, Section B of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? I'll note, just as a matter of logistics, that the executive session on tonight's agenda will follow hearing of visitors. It is anticipated to be brief, and we will come back from executive session to continue with the rest of the agenda. The next section on our agenda this evening is Section C, presentations. The first item for a resolution presentation tonight is the LGBTQ Pride Month resolution. Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, we are thrilled to be joined by School Board Member Dion Manley to receive this resolution. Dion was, in fact, Mr. Manley was recently awarded the Human Rights Campaign Equality Award at the 2024 Columbus Dinner. A little bit about Mr. Manley. He is the first openly trans elected official in the state of Ohio, having won election to our Gahanna Jefferson School Board and taking office in 2022. Not only that, he earned a full athletic scholarship to California State University Northridge and graduated with a bachelor's degree in humanities from New College of California. He's earned 3 certificates from the Gemological Institute of America before owning a small jewelry business for 17 years in San Francisco. He currently works as a healthcare worker in the optometry field and, in fact, was recently named to the Governor's Children's Vision Strike Force. He has over 10 years of experience in public service with Franklin County and 6 years of nonprofit experience as acting executive director, a volunteer coordinator, outreach specialist, and a board officer. A friend who all know him, dedicated and passionate member of our community, advocating for all of our students. Just an honor to be joined by him this evening, and a greater honor to call him my friend. So with that, I think I'd like to invite Board Member Manley if you have any remarks. And good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Jadwin, President Bowers, City Council. If it's okay, I invited Mr. Wagner from our schools, and he'll go first.
Good evening, Mr. Wagner.
Good evening. So in a chapter in our history where something as simple as the image of a rainbow flag can be politicized and for some reason seen as potentially divisive, resolutions like this are important to serve as a reminder of why June being Pride Month is important to us as queer people. While it can be easy to be distracted by the rainbow displays at local stores or parades with happy waving people with company logos on their floats as progress, we must remember that this month exists because out there tonight are young people who believe that it would be easier to not exist than to beloved the person that they've given their hearts to. That it would be better off for their friends and family if they didn't exist in the form of gender expression that felt comfortable on them. That the act of simply existing the way that they want to is more of a burden than the loss of their life. The stats speak for themselves, unfortunately. It's not easy to be queer in our society, and that threat seems to be growing. But what small gestures like this tonight do is remind us why it's worth continuing to thrive. I am a product of Gahanna. We moved here when I was 5, and I've remained here for the past 35 years. I grew roots through Royal Manor, Middle School West. I graduated from Gahanna Lincoln High School. I had my first job opening graders. I marched on the football fields before it got moved. I hung out at Stone Ridge when Easton was still cornfields. I came back to Gahanna where I now live and have established a home and a career. Gahanna is where I now teach, where I serve as English department chair, where I serve as board chairman for GRIN, where I serve on advisory councils for ODE on state testing and with OSU on assessing queer needs in Ohio. Gahanna is where I received the Octella Teacher of the Year Award, the National Council for Teacher of English Teacher of Excellence Award, and the Gahanna-Lincoln High School John Howard Award for my work in the classroom. It's where I get to help direct our internationally recognized theater program and advise our nationally ranked yearbook. I say none of that as a brag, but as a stark reminder that I could have been a statistic. Because I also had my first crush on a guy in that same hallway at those high schools. Had my first kiss with a guy on a driveway in my parents' driveway on the west side of town. Had my first date with a guy at the very romantic Gahanna Grill. I came out to my mom at Panera when it used to be on Granville, if that gives you any kind of perspective on time. All of that to say that I found myself in this city. I embraced who I was as a gay man in this zip code. I could have been a statistic, because I also was teased for being out in high school, have gotten dirty looks when holding a partner's hand in the grocery store, been afraid to fly a pride flag on my own property for fear of safety. I feared coming out professionally for the first 14 years of my career. I was called a gay slur by somebody in the audience at a school board meeting, all in Gahanna. I could have been a statistic. But it's because the people of this city love me for who I am as a complete person that I'm not. I am a queer, thriving member of this community because of this community. Thank you for the simple statement that who I choose to hold hands with or what pronouns feel best on someone doesn't define their worth, that the worth of a queer life is not a political divide. Thank you to my queer Gahanna elders and changemakers for making the place better, for trailblazers and leaders like HRC Award winner Dion Manley, who inspired me to keep being out and remind me that representation matters. To all the young queer people finding their first crushes, their first loves in this beautiful city of ours, this is a celebration to keep thriving, as we are here to love you when it seems like the world does not. That seeing that queer people can thrive and make this community brighter makes all of us better. So when you see a pride flag this month or any month, please don't see it as anything more than a symbol for hope that someday we don't have to talk about statistics. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so it is with immense gratitude that I accept this resolution, and thank you for everything you said in honor of LGBT Pride Month. This acknowledgement speaks to the gains we have made towards equality, acceptance, and celebration of diversity. Thank you for your unwavering support for LGBTQ respect, unity, and joy. I agree, a proclamation is a unified message with a vision and a mission. This resolution uplifts not only LGBTQ youth and adults, but also the community and beyond. LGBTQ people have always been here, and today I welcome a new level of open dialogue and action. This is really hard work and may not be easy for everyone. Every culture, I believe, has unique gifts to offer. The LGBTQ community is a vibrant, diverse, resilient, and beautiful group of people. Seeing us as their neighbor, family member, coworker, classmate, etc., brings new familiarity as we continue living alongside and showing up for one another. In recognizing LGBTQ Pride Month, we do so with a profound understanding of the challenges our community has faced and continues to confront. It is through our unwavering commitment to equality that we continue to affect change. To our allies and advocates, thank you so much for your support and solidarity. Your voices strengthen our message of love and acceptance. Your actions pave the way for a brighter, more inclusive future. Like so many others, I would certainly not be here without you. I first came out at 19 and have lived much of my life as an out member of the LGBTQ community. It hasn't been easy at all, but believe me, it's worth it. There is also a lot to celebrate. When I moved here 18 years ago, I did not know what to expect. Bringing my daughter, however, my young daughter, she was 2. However, people saw that I was a committed father and were very welcoming and supportive of us. I am grateful for the connections I've made here through my parenting, work, and community service. From my work with our school district, I have heard young people communicate what it's like to see someone similar to them in a visibly recognized position in the school community. LGBTQ students have shared with me how they now see that they can survive youth in order to grow up and be an adult out in the world, and yes, even an elder. So they see that people like them can be respected leaders working towards making our local community and the world a better place. In addition to them, their classmates, friends, and family can see that there is a place for their friends and classmates, people they care about. Whatever age someone is when they choose to express and be themselves, they deserve to live without the fear of discrimination or persecution and to live with dignity and respect. Every person deserves to see themselves reflected in and among our community's leadership, networks, and beyond. So in closing, let's take time to affirm the progress we have made, to honor those who paved the way, and recommit to the ongoing pursuit of equality. Together, we can create a world different, where every individual is celebrated for their uniqueness and where diversity isn't only accepted, but it's embraced. Thank you again for this resolution, and in unity, happy Pride to one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner and Mr. Manley. I believe we'll grab a photo and present the resolution. So, thank you. Mr. Wagner, you're welcome to come forward as well, please.
Thank you. Can I do just...
Thank you so much, School Board Member Manley and Mr. Wagner. We are very grateful for your contributions to the community and how you are showing our LGBTQ youth that thriving adulthood in Gahanna is a reality, and so many other LGBTQ adults that make up the fabric of Gahanna. It's powerful, so thank you. All right, our next resolution presentation this evening is for CPR and AED Awareness Week. So we have a number of guests here to recognize for this resolution. While CPR training had gained public awareness over many years previously, the use of AEDs and civilian training for automated external defibrillators has increased recently. Our residents and our city staff have become more aware, trained, and proficient in the benefits of AEDs. Council wishes with this resolution to express its support for and pride for the amazing work of City Risk and Safety Administrator Melissa Jackson, the Gahanna Parks and Recreation Department, and the Gahanna Division of Police. The full Parks and Rec staff are currently certified in CPR, first aid, and AED usage. The entire division of Gahanna Police have received CPR and AED training and certification through partners with paramedics at Mifflin Township Fire. And the Division of Police now has AEDs in all of its vehicles. I think Director Farrell, did you have some remarks to offer on this evening?
I think she was deferring to me if I'm reading that head nod. Thank you for pointing out all of the efforts that have been taken on behalf of our city administration. We recognize the need for CPR and AEDs within the community and certainly within the importance of our staff. You mentioned Melissa Jackson. I would say the Risk and Safety Administrator role is a role that we had asked for in the budget back in 2022 for the 2023 budget. We appreciated the approval of that because we recognized at that time that there really was a need for a risk and safety program. And it really is Ms. Jackson, in concert with Director Weibensinger, who's here, and all of our staff who have made tremendous strides. We now have AEDs in 20 city facilities, as well as all the police cruisers that you had mentioned as well. We've had 37 non-police staff trained. We have 5 full-time staff members who are certified instructors, 6 part-time or seasonal staff members who are certified instructors, and all 200 plus of our seasonal employees have been trained. Which is, not only do we have the largest seasonals we've had in the last 5 years, but largest number of seasonals as we had in the last 5 years, but all of them have been trained. We had a class in the spring, we have another class in the fall. We invite council to participate in that. We appreciate our partnership with Mifflin Division of Fire for the work that they are doing. And also continuing that work, our collaboration with them is looking at the placement of strategically mounted AEDs in other places throughout our city. So talking to other communities around what has worked with them, how do you place them and make sure that there is a deterrent against vandalism, et cetera. But that continues to be a focus for us in making sure that we are able to protect our residents when they need that help in the most critical moments. So thank you for representing and recognizing the work of our team. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So I think also, I do want to recognize some of the Department of Parks and Rec staff that are here this evening. Recreation Superintendent Brian Gill. I could read off all of the AED and CPR certifications, but we would be here for several more minutes. But incredible certification and training skill set from Superintendent Gill. So thank you so much for being here. Chris Simmons is our recreation supervisor. Again, extensive training and experience. Recreation coordinator for youth and family, Amy Moneypenny, I believe, has joined us tonight. Elijah Smith, who's an aquatics guest service. And Abe Biziano, head lifeguard for Gahanna Parks and Rec. He is a certified American Red Cross for the professional rescuer. So thank you all for your work. And before we take a group photo, I did want to also recognize Gahanna Division of Police Chief Spence and Training Sergeant Shesby, and offer you an opportunity to speak to the department's progress if you'd like to highlight anything else besides what Mayor Jadwin has highlighted.
Thank you. I just wanted to, a couple of seconds to recognize that, the CPR AED training is vital. We've also, this past first quarter in service, completed some casualty care, trauma care, blood stop lossage. We all carry tourniquets. I frequently go through cruiser video, body worn video, and some of the, and I'll use the term heroic life-saving measures that our officers in encountering these scenes. You never know when we're going to roll up on someone in need, somebody that's in cardiac arrest. I mean, our officers are out there every day. They're throughout the neighborhoods, and they're typically there to stabilize the scene and render that aid. We couldn't do it without Mifflin Township Fire. They were instrumental in putting together, and I would say, some of the best training that I've frankly been through in a very long time this last quarter. So all of this kind of plays into everything we're trying to do and trying to field the best and most trained officers, certainly in the region, hopefully in the state and beyond. So Justin Chesby does a phenomenal job in that, and we appreciate the support in terms of the funding to get those tools in our hands where we can make a difference with them. So thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you also. We got all new AEDs last year. Everybody's been trained in them, and it's remarkable so that you're going to, give us that opportunity to have those to help somebody out if they need it. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sergeant Chesby. All right. And one final guest on this resolution tonight, we have State Representative Rich Brown from District 5, which includes our southern portion of Franklin County. Representative Brown is here to speak with us about House Bill 47, which he has co-sponsored, specifically on the expanded presence of AEDs.
Well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, President Bowers and all the committee members. It's great to be here. House Bill 47, I'm happy to talk briefly about it. This is a bill that I'm the primary sponsor. I have a Republican co-sponsor. The bill is to require automated external defibrillators in every Ohio school and in certain municipally owned and operated sports and recreation locations. The bill has passed the House 85-9, so it's a bipartisan bill. It passed on June the 14th of 2023. It's now in the Senate. So it's been in the Senate for a while. We are hoping that it passes the Senate. We've had sponsor testimony. There's also been proponent testimony. There are no opponents that we're aware of, and we're hopeful that it's going to pass. Basically, you all know AEDs are vital. Sudden cardiac arrest is a killer. It can kill and just about anybody at just about any time. Teenage athletes up to pro athletes have succumbed to sudden cardiac arrest. This matter was brought to me by one of my constituents, a self-described soccer mom who took her son all over the state of Ohio playing travel soccer. And she noticed that in many of the locations where the teams were playing, there were no AEDs. And these were some municipal parks, some schools, et cetera. And she brought this matter to me and said, you know, these things really save lives. They need to be in more places, or otherwise people are going to die. And so I started looking into it, and I discovered that under current Ohio law, it is suggested that schools have them, but not required. So we just changed may to shall, and we are going to require every school in Ohio to have AEDs, at least one in their school buildings. We also are going to require the teachers, principals, athletic trainers, coaches, and other personnel as determined by the school to be trained in the use of AEDs. And then in addition to that, currently there is no requirement that municipally owned recreation locations have AEDs. This bill will require certain sports and recreation locations that are owned and operated by municipalities and or townships to have AEDs present and have some individuals, appropriate staff trained in the use of them. And it's our belief that this will definitely save lives, because if you don't treat SCA within 5 minutes or so, it can be fatal. For every minute that goes by without treatment, there's a 7 to 10% increase in the mortality rate. And so it's crucial that AEDs in conjunction with CPR is used almost immediately or as quickly as possible to try to save people's lives. And we believe that this bill will do so by turning some suggestions into mandates. And even some of my brethren from the other side of the aisle who aren't particularly amenable to mandates believe that in this case that these are important enough to save lives that we should have them. And so it would also require the Ohio Department of Health to develop a model emergency action plan that could be used by the schools if they don't have one of their own already developed. These things are lifesavers. They don't cost that much money. They can be used by somebody without any training. Obviously, it's better if you have somebody with training, but they're devices that have screens that tell you what to do. They automatically assess and analyze the heart rhythm and determine what electric shock, if any, would be appropriate to use. And they kind of walk you through it, but obviously it's better if you're trained. And I applaud the Gahanna for having the AED training, and it sounds like you guys are doing a fantastic job. I wish more communities were doing this. You're going to save lives by doing this. And every year, and usually in August and September, you start reading stories. This past August, there was a young man in the practice fields on a soccer team, one of the Worthington soccer teams, collapsed during practice. the quick thinking of the coach doing CPR, another assistant coach going get the AED, save this young man's life. He came and this young man and his family came and testified in committee about that experience. So this is something that's vitally important. This bill has been supported by many medical organizations, from the American College of Cardiology to the Ohio chapter of American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Surgeons, the Ohio Athletic Training Association, the National Football League is heavily interested in this, and an official or representative of the NFL came from their national headquarters to testify about this bill. They support it after what happened to Damar Hamlin and of the Bills at the Bengals game. They're heavily invested in this as well as major Ohio hospitals and schools across the state of Ohio. So thank you for allowing me to come here and tell you a little bit about this bill. I'm hopeful that it will pass. The holdup is money. These things cost a little bit of money. There was not an appropriation included in the bill because we wanted to get the bill passed, get it into law, and then we're trying to work to fund it on the back end through the budgeting process, and also develop grants and other forms of funding through the governor's office. We've been in contact with representatives of the governor's office who are also very interested in this bill. So we're working on getting funding. These things are not that expensive, but nevertheless, they do cost some money. But most schools already have them. This bill is to sort of inspire the schools that don't to get them. So that's basically all I have. I appreciate the opportunity to come and tell you a little bit about it. And again, I applaud Gahanna for all your good work with regard to AEDs. You will save people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. All right, I think that concludes the remarks on this resolution. So if we could grab a picture with members of the city staff who are here tonight, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Count of 3. 1, 2.
Thank you again to the city staff for a few extra minutes of your time tonight for us to give this opportunity to speak to the importance of the work that you do and our support of that work. All right, next section on the agenda is on to hearing of visitors. I have 3 speaker slips and then 2 video speakers. So we will start with Ms. Lauren Renner. If you would please approach the podium. State your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes for your remarks.
My name is Lauren Renner, and my address is 320 Winridge Court, Gahanna, Ohio. And thank you so much for allowing me to have a few minutes of your time tonight. I wanted to I thought maybe I don't even need to come after so many of you responded to the email I sent about AED placements throughout the city. So hearing what Mayor Jedwin was saying, and then listening to what's in the works with House Bill 47 makes me very hopeful. I think you can replace soccer mom with baseball mom for me, but spending a lot of time at the fields, I do notice just public access to AEDs is something that I think is so important when every minute counts. I work as a nurse practitioner at Nationwide Children's Hospital, so I see firsthand, even a matter of minutes on an athletic field in a school definitely matters. So I think, I also applaud everything that our city has done to make it safe. And I think, we have the technology for the freestanding AED devices that are, they do have a heating element and security and Wi-Fi enabled and everything. And I think a good example, our neighbors in Dublin just were able to install 7 of them for a little over $25,000 with the grant from the Shriners and city money and township money. And I think even thinking of Academy Park specifically, I worry a whole lot. There's not even a sign that we have an AED, and probably like 95% of the time it's locked and not all coaches have the keys. When I think of the volume of any given night, you go out there tonight, there's probably 20 or 30 teenagers playing basketball. There are people on the trails, there are people playing soccer, baseball, and not one person might know where the AED is. So I think I just am here tonight to hopefully this stays on, the front of everybody's mind and efforts. And between now and then, even if we think of just signs even where they might be, even if somebody has to break a window in the snack bar or whatever the case is, just so people know they're there. But thank you all for your time.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker slip is from Kathy McCorkle. Mrs. McCorkle, please approach the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comments.
Today, we have legislatures which are filled with people who are...
Ma'am, could you restart and state your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you reset it?
I'm going to. All right, there you go.
Kathy McCorkle, 677 Piccadilly Court, Gahanna. Today, we have legislatures which are filled with people who are ignorant of the Word of God and ignorant of the commandments which have been basic for this nation, and they are passing legislation which condones a lifestyle of sexual debauchery. Tonight, you will vote for the 4th time on a resolution 0021 to celebrate and honor sexual perversion in this community. Do you all love unrighteousness so much? Is there not one person on council who will stand for righteousness and vote no? A few years ago, a certain council member asked to put this resolution on the consent agenda, and I guess it's kind of a nice way to conceal how members voted on an issue. Pull it out of the consent agenda for a separate vote. No one on this council seems to fear God, and it's evidenced not only in policy like this, but also during the invocation, where Almighty God's name is not even mentioned. Most times, certain members pray to themselves a prayer of self-praise and self-glorification. When did this start, and who suggested it? I'm wondering if it was the same council person who brought forth this noxious resolution 4 years ago. Any who vote yes tonight for this resolution will be the Pied Pipers of Gahanna, leading our residents and children down the path of destruction. History proves that when a nation goes down, sexual perversion has come to the forefront.
Right. Thank you. Our next speaker slip is from Josh Heinzelman. If you would please approach the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your remarks.
Okay. My name is Joshua Heinzelman. I live at 151 Scottsbury Court. I'm going to talk about something a little bit different than what's been talked about today. I've grown up in Gahanna my whole life, and I live in a walking distance to Creekside. I have seen it grow throughout the years, and I've seen it become a great destination place for me as a student and as a teenager. Yet, there is a big issue with Creekside. What I want to speak to you about today is Creekside's car-dominated problem. We all would all love to see Creekside become a hotspot for businesses and families. Throughout the summer, Gahanna puts on many good festivals, such as the upcoming Blues and Jazz Festival, and I know you guys all work very hard with that. The glaring issue, though, is that Creekside is unsafe to walk or bike from 4:30 to 7 p.m. every weekday. Creekside is supposed to be a place that brings the community together, and yet, as a teacher, I would not recommend any student to visit Creekside between 4:30 and 7 because of how much traffic there is that goes through Mill Street. I spoke with Mayor Jadwin about a year ago when I was doing an event for the parking for the Blues and Jazz Festival. She talked to me about how we were all looking for Gahanna's Creekside to become a destination place. She spoke to me about the high volume of people that use Creekside and Mill Street as a way to get through and not as a way to stop and actually interact with the community. What I want to talk to you about today is making Creekside a place for the community and the families that strive to use that place. I want to propose better bike lanes and more walkable infrastructure for Creekside. I urge you not to immediately turn away from what I'm about to say, even potentially closing Mill Street and using High Street as a way to get to the Creekside parking garage and that light right there. I know that High Street you can cut through and without going to Shaw, because I know that's a residential area, you can use High Street as a way to get to the Creekside parking garage and a way through. If you were able to close Mill Street, you could then open it up to more businesses and more walkable and bikeable area. I know that Easton has done some similar things and they've seen huge growth and a lot of people coming there simply just wanting to enjoy what it offers. You could have more also, I know that we are also looking for better ways with public infrastructure to create the walkable community. You can also diversify what is available at Creekside, possibly more convenience stores, plant shops, or even a book library. I know we're looking for more multi-use areas, and to end this, the truth is that people bring people together, and cars simply separate us. As long as Creekside is car dominated from 4:30 to 7, I'm not sure it'll flourish the way that we all want it to.
Thank you, Mr. Heinzelman. All right. Mr. Van Meter, I believe we have 2 video comments, and I believe you have the addresses for the speakers, correct?
Yes, the first comment through video is Lee Nathans, 55 South Remington Road, Bexley, Ohio.
Good evening. My name is Lee Nathans. I'm the founder of Heart Safe Bexley. In cooperation with Mayor Ben Kessler and all the members of Bexley City Council, we launched Heart Safe Bexley in October of 2023 to provide our citizens with the ability to intervene in a sudden cardiac arrest and to be able to save lives. We've engaged in over 400 community members training in compression-only cardiopulmonary resuscitation and the use of automatic external defibrillators. Using CPR and AEDs have been shown as the most effective way of saving lives when someone encounters a sudden cardiac arrest event. We've trained over 400 people at community centers, the public library, and throughout the Bexley Police Department. The second phase is going to be Save Station public access AEDs. We are looking at locations throughout the community on our commercial area on Main Street, as well as public parks for locations for our Save Stations. One of the issues with Save Station public access AEDs is that there's a concern about vandalism or theft. Most communities around the country have not experienced that. And the reason for that is that there are precautions that are built into every Save Station to prevent that from happening. So in Bexley, we have developed specifications which, number 1, will have an alarm on every Save Station. Number 2, we'll have a camera which will take a picture as soon as the door is opened and the alarm goes off. And number 3, it will contain a SIM card which will have a direct cellular communication to our Bexley Police Dispatch Center. This should prevent any theft or vandalism or give us the ability to apprehend any offenders. We're very excited about moving forward with our save stations and would highly recommend that as a way to save lives for citizens of Gahanna as well.
The next video comment is Sarah McGraw-Timmis, 3796 Nicholas Drive, Northeast, Lancaster, Ohio.
Good evening. My name is Sarah McGraw-Timmis. I'm the health coordinator for Lancaster City Schools, as well as a member of the Community Heart Watch here in Lancaster, Ohio. And I'm reaching out in support of an initiative that I understand that Gahanna City Council is looking into, placing AEDs in some of your busiest areas throughout your community. My work with the schools, we do have 8 AED machines that are placed outside full-time that are accessible to the public. We did place them in temperature-controlled units. We have not had an issue with vandalism at this point. However, I have spoken with other communities that have attached air tags and other tracking devices to their AEDs in the event one were to come up missing. We also here in Lancaster have started to place AEDs in our various parks. So we partnered with the leadership of our parks in identifying where those AEDs should be placed. We do have signage up in the parks that alert those in our community where the AED is located. Our temperature control units that we use, when you open them, they do set off an alarm, so that sometimes is a deterrent for people messing with them. We haven't had any issues though with our public parks in terms of those going missing or being vandalized either. To me, it's worth the investment. I can speak for Lancaster City Schools. We've had 3 sudden cardiac arrests since we started to place our AEDs and become more intentional with that. And all 3 of our sudden cardiac arrest victims did survive. One was just a member of the community who was a visitor at one of our athletic events who suddenly went down in the stands. I am happy to discuss this further. Can I take you through how we were able to get some grant funding for some of our AEDs? But I think it is a great initiative and something that all communities should investigate, and hopefully improving the AED access will also improve your survival rates. And at the end of the day, you can't put a price on a life. Thank you.
I think that concludes our speaker slips for this evening and speaker submissions. So that will conclude hearing of visitors for tonight's agenda. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session under authority of Section 5.40B of the Council Rules of Procedure to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, the sale of property at competitive bidding, or the sale or other disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in accordance with Section 505.10 of the Revised Code, if premature disclosure of the information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest. Is there a first to go into executive session for the reasons stated?
So moved.
First by Mr. Renner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Weaver. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schnetzer is absent.
All right, thank you. Mayor Jadwin, as this item was at your request, were there other members of the administration that you'd like to join us?
Just Director Schultz would be great.
Okay, and City Attorney Tamala Larison?
It's not necessary, but she's always invited to attend.
Okay. All right, in the committee room then. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Come out of executive session? Do we need to take a motion to come out of executive? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Executive session has concluded at 8:16 p.m., and we will move along with the rest of our agenda. Thank you to those who have stuck around. Oh, well, it's all right. Thank you. All right. We will. No, you're fine. I was just wondering if we should, before we start taking votes. All right, okay. Before I seek a motion to adopt the consent agenda as published, Mr. Van Meter, would you please read the ordinances identified in Section 3 and Section 4, the ordinances for second reading?
Ordinance 0034-2024, an ordinance authorizing supplemental appropriations, real estate taxes, and fees for TIF funds and Board of Elections. Ordinance 0037-2024, an ordinance authorizing supplemental appropriations, State Law Enforcement Trust Fund 2250 for contract services and capital equipment. Ordinance 0038-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an amended agreement with American Structure Point, Inc. for design and engineering services for the Big Walnut Trail Section 8. Ordinance 0039-2024, an ordinance authorizing supplemental appropriations, Risk Insurance Fund 9010.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Any need to read the resolutions since they have not appeared for first reading? Okay.
Did you want me to read under 4?
Yes,
Emergency
yes,
item? Okay.
Section 4, Ordinance 36-2024, please.
Lastly, Ordinance 0036-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a 5-year contract with Central Square Technologies, LLC, for a multi-agency law enforcement computer-aided dispatch and records management system solution to be administered by the Division of Police, authorizing appropriation amendments to the ARPA Fund 22330 and Capital Improvement Fund 3250 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Clerk Van Meter. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as published? I'd like a first.
So moved, Madam President.
A first by Mr. Weaver.
Second.
Second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Weaver,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Schnetzer is absent.
Motion carries. Consent agenda is adopted. Next section on the agenda, we have an addition to resolutions, Resolution 24-2024, a resolution honoring and commending Community Liaison Officer Kelly Moffitt on her retirement from the Gahanna Division of Police. We added this in recognition of the superior career that Officer Moffitt has led in Gahanna, and in light of her upcoming retirement, we did not want to let this moment pass without taking a moment to recognize her historic contributions to the city of Gahanna. Just a couple notes from the resolution. Officer Moffitt has served as the first and only female officer in the division's narcotic unit's history, and the first female officer in the history of the division to serve on the tactical response unit, what is now the SWAT team. I think particularly important to me, in addition to that, is that Officer Moffitt was able to leverage her deep ties within the community, which led her to becoming the city's first CLO, Community Liaison Officer, which was a position that we established in the 2022 budget to act as a bridge between the division and the community's residents who are in crisis, navigating mental health issues, facing homelessness, and confronting addiction-related challenges. She has performed incredible community service work, served on the board of GRIN, in addition to participating in Starfish assignment. If this resolution is adopted by council, I'd invite those of us who are able to attend the last call ceremony for Officer Moffitt on Wednesday. We can present a copy of this resolution to her then. Is there a first to adopt Resolution 24-2024?
So moved.
I have a first by Mr. Renner,
Second.
second by Ms. Padova. Any discussion? All right. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
and Schnetzer is absent.
All right, thank you. Resolution is passed. Next section on the agenda, we have ordinances for introduction and first reading. Ordinance 41-2024. Mr. Clerk, would you please read this ordinance for first reading?
Ordinance 0041-2024, an ordinance to amend Ordinance 0088-2023, establishing the salaries for personnel of the City of Gahanna for the period January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Would any of my council colleagues like Ordinance 41 to come back into committee? If not, we can move it to consent agenda next week, or I'm sorry, for June the 17th. Yes.
Have we seen this?
It was discussed during executive session.
Maybe we gotta have a brief discussion.
Okay, we'll bring it back to committee, and then we can just assign it there.
Yeah.
All right, next section, I, correspondence and actions. Anything from the clerk's office?
Nothing this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Anything from council, my colleagues? Okay. Next section on the agenda, representatives. First, we have Mr. Renner and Mr. Weaver for the Community Improvement Corporation.
Yes, CIC met on Friday, May 31st at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Excuse me, for part one of our retreat / strategy session. And we will meet on June 7th, this coming Friday, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. again for part two. Afterwards, we'll have a report to share. I want to remind Mr. Weaver and I both want to remind our council colleagues that on June 18th, I think at 7:30 or 8 a.m. Will be the joint session between council and CIC. I haven't heard or seen a confirmation of the time, but typically we meet at 7:30. Correct. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Tuesday, June 18th at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, location TBD.
Yeah, probably the golf course like we did.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mr. Weaver, Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission.
Thank you, Madam President. First, thank you to Clerk Van Meter and our new MORPC intern, Charlie, for putting together the MORPC report, which you will find linked to your agendas. Just a couple highlights regarding Money Mondays. I think folks have tuned in some of those, but coming up on there's several listed there, but the new one that I haven't mentioned is that on June 17th, Brian Grenflow, WeConnect manager with the WeConnect data center, will be discussing broadband funding. Additionally, on Wednesday, June 12th, at the Plaza Hotel on State Street, there will be a HUD house party where attendees can learn about numerous federal and local level resources available to make home ownership a reality. More information is linked to the report. The next MORPC Commission, pre-commission luncheon will focus on Intel. That'll be on Thursday, June 13th. And then lastly, a MORPC night at the Clippers is Thursday, June 13th at 6:30 p.m. Invited to come celebrate at MORPC's annual night with the Clippers. Join us at Huntington Park to watch Bexley Mayor and MORPC Secretary Ben Kessler throw out the first pitch. And that is it for my report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Councilwoman Padova.
Thank you. This week, on Wednesday, midweek at the Creek, kicks off at Creekside. So this week it will be Ty Perkins, and that is Wednesday, June 5th from 6 to 8 at Creekside Plaza. And then the following week, there will not be Midweek at the Creek because of setup for Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival. So I hope to see everyone there. And then the week after, the June 19th will be the next Midweek at the Creek with Jeff McCargish. So come out. I know last year over the summer, as summer progressed, there were a lot more people coming and really having a good time, especially with Cora. You can get a drink, come listen to some music. It's a good time, nice community atmosphere. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Councilwoman Padova. Councilwoman Jones, School Board.
Yeah, so just a few really quick things. The central office has officially relocated to their new address at 630 Morrison Road. At that same location, the 6th, Thursday, I think, will be the last coffee and conversation of the year with Superintendent Dr. Deagle and a couple members of the school board. So that will be 8 a.m. to 9:30 at the new central office location. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Official reports, Mayor Jadwin.
Thank you. I will be brief so we can get out of here this evening. First of all, I wanted to thank the member of our Gahanna Veterans Committee, as well as our VFW Post 4719, American Legion Post 797, for a series of beautiful and stirring ceremonies on Memorial Day to honor and remember our fallen soldiers. They always do such an incredible job in their organization of those events, from laying of the wreath in the creek to multiple ceremonies at some of the cemeteries, then ultimately the service at the Veterans Memorial Park. It really just was a touching tribute, and it is always inspiring and very moving each year, both Memorial Day and Veterans Day, when they offer those for our community. A couple of staffing updates for council. We welcomed our new street superintendent, Kyle Allen, who has relocated here from the Midwest. We are not the Midwest, there's further Midwest, but he joined us. Last week was his first week. We also welcomed Tyler Wilson, who is the new recreation coordinator too. That is the events position that council authorized in, I believe it was February of this year. So he just recently started last week as well, so he's getting acclimated, and we always like to throw them in right before Blues and Jazz. It seems to work really well in getting them educated. We have Blake Langley joined us as a parks maintenance worker, and Andrew Hunt as a part-time parks coordinator. And then in addition to your council intern, we have 3 additional interns, Matt Goodhart and Josie Meredith, who also joined us from Morpsey, as well as Addie Parker, who is helping us out with some things here. And then just finally, a couple of upcoming events over the next few weeks. Thank you, Councilwoman, for mentioning the Midweek at the Creek. That's Wednesday. Creekside Live kicks off Friday. So we have live music Wednesday, live music Friday. The schedule can be found on the event calendar at gahanna.gov. This Saturday, Make Gahanna Yours is doing a litter cleanup to help beautify our freeway ramps in anticipation of the 25th anniversary, the Blues and Jazz Fest. That is this Saturday again, June 8th. I believe starting time is at 10 a.m. Make Gahanna Yours Facebook page has a link for signups for people who want to volunteer. I believe we shared that on our page as well. And we are proud to be partnering with them. Our police will be providing safety services when you have volunteers working in those areas. Not only is it required they do in concert with our police, but our police will be there to make sure our volunteers stay safe. We mentioned the festival, June 14th through the 16th. Juneteenth, we will have our first ever Juneteenth celebration. Mr. Ron Ransom, a longtime Gahanna resident, has taken the lead in organizing that. It started as part of our Gahanna 175 discussions, but he has organized a tremendous gospel concert that evening. It will be at 4 p.m. at Shepherd Nazarene Church, almost right down from City Hall at Rocky Fork South. And that again, the event starts at 4 o'clock. Information about that event can be found at Gahanna 175. And then just so people can start cleaning their closets out, on June 22nd, we will be holding our household hazardous waste collection in partnership with SWACO. It's June 22nd at Headley Park from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. There is a list on our website of things, items that are acceptable, things like lighter fluid and turpentine and paints. All those things that you've had around your house and need to get rid of. This is a safe way to do that. They also will take electronics that day, so right, I did the same thing, Councilman Weaver. So really? So
Madam Mayor, are they taking those large tube TVs by any chance?
I don't know about that. We can get clarification on that. I will get clarification for you. But there is a full list on the website as well. If you click on the latest news item, there's information about that event. And then finally, more information will come because it's still being developed, but we have a wonderful group of community members led by Katie McBroom, who are currently planning Gahanna Community Pride Night. That will be Wednesday, June 26th from 6:30 to 10 p.m. at Hanna Park. I know our parks team, our events, Chelsea Heppard, our recreation coordinator for events, is currently helping them plan logistics as well, and we're connecting them with some food vendors, et cetera, for that event. And there will be more information as well as a website to share, I believe, in the next few days. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jadwin. City Attorney Tamala Larison, do you have a report tonight?
Thank you, Madam President. I will be brief. The only update from my office is that I am currently working on a comprehensive review of our criminal code. And so you will be seeing that coming forward in committee in the upcoming weeks.
Thank you, City Attorney Tamala Larison. All right, moving on to council comment. Mrs. Jones.
So my May constituent newsletter is live and attached to the agenda today's meeting. In that newsletter, you'll also see an announcement of my next constituent hour, which will be Saturday, June 29th at 1 o'clock at Gahanna Library. So I hope to see residents there. And then tonight, just a thank you for all of the recognitions for AED Awareness Month, to Officer Moffitt, and to Pride Night. And just a huge thank you to School Board Member Dion Manley and to our teacher, Chris Wagner. You know, in a world where, you know, society is often telling our LGBTQ youth that they don't matter, it's just so inspiring to see teachers and adults thriving and to have a community like ours that supports them. So thank you to colleagues, administration, all of the community for just highlighting that, and happy Pride. Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. McGregor.
I don't have much. I'll just tell one quick story. When Mr. Weaver mentioned the tube TV, we had a large tube TV that needed to be recycled. And so we thought my husband was going to cut the cord off and take the copper out of the cord. And he thought, well, maybe somebody will want it. So we hauled it out put it on the lawn the night well before the trash pickup. And the next morning it was still there. He says, well, I'll go out and cut off the cord. And somebody had come by and cut off the cord. When they came by. They didn't take the TV, but they came by and snipped off the cord. So it was recycled.
Thank you, Mrs.
That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Mr. Renner?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Ms. Padova?
Thank you. Thank you to all of my colleagues for the support of the Pride resolution. The Trevor Project found that 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. LGBTQ youth who felt high social support from their family reported attempting suicide at less than half the rate of those who felt low or moderate social support. Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to be gender affirming. 60% of LGBTQ youth who wanted mental health care in the past year were not able to get it. LGBTQ youth who live in a community that is accepting of LGBTQ people reported significantly lower rates of attempting suicide than those who do not. So this is the reason why we do these resolutions. Thank you to Mr. Manley and Mr. Wagner for being here this evening and speaking. Our children are very lucky to have both of them in our community, being a shining example of LGBTQ people who are able to really shine in our community and help the young people in our community to not become one of these statistics. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Ms. Padova. All right, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, of course, to all of our guests. It was nice to see the video comment option being utilized. Also want to extend my thanks to the VFW and the Foreign Legion. It was a lovely ceremony down at Veterans Memorial Park. This year, and a first for my family, we actually had a brick placed in honor and remembrance of my wife's grandfather, Everett Calvin Target. He served in the U.S. Army as well as the Indiana National Guard for many, many, many years and recently passed away. So it was nice to have that brick there for him. And my wife was, her grandmother was unable to travel, but my wife was sending her video clips and taking photos, and sent back some text with my wife like, "Oh, TAPS absolutely just gutted me. I'm sobbing over here." So, but really, it meant a lot for her. We certainly thank our veterans, but we also thank our veteran spouses and their families. They also bear the burden of service, and it can be very difficult times for them as well. So, want to extend my congratulations to all of the class of 2024, whether it's at Gahanna Lincoln or Academy or DeSales or any other school that our Gahanna residents may attend. Congratulations. Lastly, I'll just say I echo the comments of Councilmember Jones and Councilmember Padova. I couldn't say it any better, and I wish everyone a happy, safe, and loving Pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Just very briefly, I wanted to also extend my gratitude to the Veterans Committee for a moving Memorial Day event. We had great weather, so it was lovely to be there. I wanted to also mention that today is National Cancer Survivors Day. A friend of mine put out some requests as she lost her sister to aggressive and ruthless cancer recently. She put out the request that we get preventative cancer screenings. Those of us who receive cancer screenings and early diagnoses may be more likely to survive a cancer diagnosis. Regular mammograms may catch breast cancer early, and with the increase in gastrointestinal cancers, I would encourage younger folks to also start thinking about colonoscopies at an earlier age. On this Cancer Survivor Day, in addition to scheduling your screenings, please also consider donating to Pelotonia riders and other cancer research efforts. And my friend Emily also requested that you call a survivor and tell them that you love them. In addition to that, I wanted to just also chime in on wishing everyone a happy Pride Month. Big thanks to Katie McBroom for taking up the mantle on working on a Gahanna Pride event later this month. Very excited to see that thrive, and I know many, many members of our community are also excited to see that. This morning, Columbus Council President Shannon Hardin, Ohio Senate member Nikki Antonio, and other LGBT elected officials participated in an interview on WKSU, which is Northeast Ohio's radio station. And they talked about what it means to be an out LGBT local or otherwise elected official. And each one of them was asked by the interviewer what brings them joy. And each one of them talked about the joy that it is to be in community with other LGBTQ folks and to show LGBTQ youth that it does get better, that there is a path forward, and that there are model ways to grow and to thrive and to support your communities. Senator Antonio shared a story about how she was approached by a young man recently, and the young man told her that he played a recording of her on YouTube for his parents and talked about the issues that she raised on this recording. And by using that recording of Senator Antonio, this young man was then able to come out to his parents for the first time. And he shared this story with her, and for her to feel that she was able to contribute to that safe way for him to see himself reflected in something that he loved, public policy, and also see an LGBTQ elder doing that kind of work was very moving for him, and a really powerful testament to what it means to be an LGBTQ elected official. So with that, thank you again to School Board Member Dion Manley and to Chris Wagner for being here tonight. Truly an honor to serve alongside Board Member Manley, and I look forward to having a happy and safe Pride with all of you. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you.